Good morning. Today we are doing the release of sorrows guided meditation. The release of sorrows. So, basically, the release of sorrows is a wonderful thing. And to start with, we have to establish the fact that right here, in this now with me, there is no sorrow. Right here, right now. On the other side of your emotions, on the other side of your thinking, on the other side of your drama, there is no sorrow. So we will be looking at sorrow from the past that we've been carrying with us. Sorrow, grief. Grief someone's passing, grief that a relationship passes, grief about the way that life is going, how it's not going the way we expected. Grief and sorrow. So in this scintillating now, that isn't here, but we will bring it here. And we will call, it's in the there then as opposed to the here now. So we will call it into the here now in the guided meditation. And see what happens. Now, why would we hold on to sorrow and suffering and grief? Well, perhaps because we're not done with it yet. You'll notice that you might, for example, be watching a film, watching TV, and something will come in the show that will trigger your sorrow, that will trigger your grief. It won't come out of the show, the show will trigger it, and it will be the same feeling as it always is. If you really look at it, the sorrow is always the same. It's always that same feeling. It always has that same tonality. It's always attached to that same story. And it keeps getting triggered until we're done with it. Being done with it can be a choice. Now the danger is that when we were children, perhaps, things happened that upset us. And that's it. That has happened. That upset has happened. But then what happened was, out of the upset, in a traumatized state of being, state of mind, we created meanings about ourselves and our life that came out of that. So say, for example, for me, I was sent to boarding school at 6 years old by my mother. And I took that to mean that she didn't love me. And I then logicked it that it must be because I'm a bad boy. And that meaning I lived in for a long time. And as that became who I was being that I was, that is then how I turned up for myself. Drama started to prove that right. But it was never the truth about me. But it appeared as if it was, because that was who I was being that I was, and it's who I'm being that I am that gives me how I get myself. Because there isn't actually a way that I am. So we create these meanings that we then live into. They start they come out of trauma. And then they're not, their source isn't truth, their source is trauma. But those meanings, like I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I'm not wanted, there's something wrong, they become underlying themes, and they gather around them emotions and pain. And then when something happens that triggers them, that same feeling comes up. So in this meditation, in this guided meditation, we'll have a look at that. So what I want you to do is to sit, eyes open or closed, but keeping still and keeping focused on me if your eyes are open, and going within and being still if your eyes are closed. So you come inside yourself. You feel your presence. You just quickly run through the body, top of the head, forehead, just noting any sensations at all, and reminding yourself you are inside a body. Eyeballs, face, shoulders, aches and pains, arms, hands, feeling the hands, feeling the back, feeling the whole torso, feeling the buttocks, feeling your weight on the seat, and your thighs, your knees, whatever's there, just being in your body, just being here, right now with me in your body. Now, bring your attention around the heart area, in the center of your chest, where feelings can be felt. And from this place of centeredness, from this awake place, from this conscious place, you're conscious of your feelings, you're conscious. Now I want you to go and call forth your sorrow, call forth your grief. Invite it to become present. Don't run away from it anymore. Not going to suppress it anymore. You're going to call it forth. And you are going to watch it. You are going to observe it from a place of awakeness. Call it into being, this sorrowful one, this hurt child, this confused one. Invite it into the light of this now. Come on, my love. Now is the time of your healing. Come into the light. You wounded, bedraggled one, come into the light. The light of this presence, the light of this now. Fully accept. Fully accept your grief. Let it be. Fully accept your sorrow. Let it be. Call it forth, out of the shadows. Now, interestingly, what you'll notice is that it doesn't come into the light. As you call it forth, it burns up. As you fully allow it to be, it burns up. when you fully consciously accept it and invite it into this now, it burns up in the fire of resolution, in the fire of truth, in the fire of pure presence, where it has no real existence. Accept it, call it in. Come. Sorrowful one, come into the light. The crying child, bring her into the light. The miserable one, the one that's not good enough, call her forth, call him forth into the light of this now. Present, expose, and what happens? What happens? The fears you've been running from, call them forth. Stand steady in this presence and call forth your fears. Fears of being not accepted, fears of being exposed, fears of being laughed at, fears of being alone, fears of death, fears of negative outcomes. Call them all forth. And what happens? They can't reach you. You are not in the psychological domain. Your freedom, the freedom of your true self, who you can't be anything other than your true self. And from that position you call forth your fears, you call forth your grief, you call forth your sorrow. And this is how it burns up. By fully accepting it and inviting it into being. And when it gets into being, it dissolves like a mist. And you realize that you were never sad, that you were never hurt, who you truly are watched it all. And was never touched by it. You, who you truly are, can never be hurt. You, who you truly are, you who you truly are. And in this meditation you can see the difference between the psychological self and the true self. With our sorrows and our grief and our fears, there's always a story that supports them. Can you see how that's true? And arriving in this place of pure being that's untouched and unassociated, from here You can call forth everything and have it dissolve. Will you allow that? Or will you continue to identify with your past? I am the one who had this happen to me. No. It's time to move on from that. You are the shimmering presence in this moment only. When you're ready, the release of sorrows happens instantly. If you want to hang on to your sorrow, for whatever reason, it's okay. But if you want to let them go, call them forth. Call them into this now, fully. Invite them to come. Oh, wounded one, come now into the light. Oh, you who are so hurt and wounded and battered and fearful, come into this light. Oh, you weak one, lost one, upset one, hurt one, broken one, come into this light. And as they step out of the shadows, they dissolve in the brilliance of the light of joy. You angry one, find the angry one in you and call that one into the light. Come now into this presence. Reveal yourself. And as you do it more and more deeply, the sense of pure self gets stronger and stronger. And you realize it was figments. Figments of a dream. And you are awakeness. Nothing has ever touched you. Can you accept this? Can you allow this truth to be there for you? Nothing can stand the brilliance of your being. Darkness, don't run from it, call it forth. Come on then, let's see you. Those beings that live in the shadows, those sub-personality aspects that live in the shadows of our unconscious, cannot stand the brilliance of truth. They all dissolve. And what's left in that dissolution? Joy, clarity, light, love, compassion. Compassion for who you thought you were. Call the one who needs love, needs to be loved. Call that one forth. dissolves into the light of your own being. You heal yourself by accepting all that was in the past. And seeing its true nature. You can't be here now and there then simultaneously. You're either here now or there then. Bring everything into this now. Reset yourself each time you come into full presence. The end of suffering comes as we realize the true self. Don't be overwhelmed by your feelings, by your emotions. Don't collapse into them. Look at them. Observe them. Offer them up into the light of your pure presence. Nothing can stand in the brilliance of your pure presence. No idea of yourself, no residue from the part you've played. Mother, lover, sister, servant, whatever. All the parts you played. Created their wounds and reactions and meanings and suffering and misery. But can you now see that it never touched you? And by calling it forth, allowing it to fully be, can you see what happens to you when you do that? The power of your presence will always match what you call forth for it to dissolve. Return to the self. Return to innocence. Return to the truth. Return to the heart. Restore and reset yourself by becoming present. When you are who you are, There is no sorrow. When you are who you are, there are no emotions. When you are who you are the feeling of joy, the feeling of happiness, the feeling of freedom itself. It's not you and happiness and you and freedom. You are freedom. You are happiness. You are that joy. That is the feeling of you. Peace. No more psychological entanglement. No more emotional upset. You awaken to the self. So now, offer up thanks that when the time is right, the release of sorrows is so simple. Then come back and open your eyes and become present here again. Know that you're loved and loving and lovable. So I'm doing these every day till at least December the 2nd. If you have any questions or comments, then write them to me. If you'd like an individual session with me online or in real life, that's also possible. Let me know. I'm happy to do that for a small donation. Up to you. And these will be going on my YouTube channel, Timian Talks, if you want to see them again. And I hope that this has been helpful. Have a beautiful day.